What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Matty B. Welcome back to the channel, and thank you guys for tuning in. As always, I really appreciate you guys. We're currently en route back home from the Verb Classic this weekend. I did not make it out to St. Louis for SMX, but yeah, had a fun weekend this weekend. On the way back home right now, just got out of traffic. We were going slower than Biden reading a damn teleprompter, but yeah, we're really tired. So when I get home, I feel like going to bed. So we're just gonna bust out a quick review national right now, and yeah, wow. How about the racing at St. Louis last night? Round 2 of the playoffs. I've kind of been on record a handful of times with talking about how I don't think the hybrid tracks necessarily create the best racing, but last night it was exciting. I don't necessarily think it was, really the best racing per se, like not the best battling, but tons of crazy storylines, a lot of jumbled up results. We even had the Deegs enter his own danger zone and get teed up by the chef. We actually had Jett get taken down, so a lot of stuff went down last night. Even the SMX Next, they had 2 races over the weekend, so we'll get into a little bit of that on the way home. But before I do, got to give a huge thank you to my channel sponsors. Thank you to Sirius Studio, I'm repping the hat, and also a huge thank you to ASV Inventions. If you need an unbreakable lever because you're a spode and can't stop tipping over and breaking your levers, or if you just want some cool merch, hats, shirts, you name it, they got it. Check out my description. I got some discount codes and links, and if you're supporting my sponsors, you're supporting me. Let's get into the video. All right, to start off, as we always do, a few thoughts on the track. And guys, don't worry, I'm paying attention. I'm barely looking at you guys. I got, about 3 to 5 business days in front of me. I'm leaving a big gap, but yeah, some thoughts on the track. Another hybrid track, but it was mostly Supercross. I saw a few comments about how they left the M out of SMX this weekend, but yeah, there were still some motocross aspects to it. You had the potting soil in those sweepers, you had the sand. You could see the track definitely got beat up, a lot of ruts, and it had some aspects of motocross, but as far as the obstacles themselves, most of the layout, it seemed like more of a Supercross track, and it wasn't a stadium. It was pretty cool that I think they were able to retract some of the seating or something like that, give them a way bigger floor plan, so that was cool. Just gave them a little bit of bigger floor space to work with, and yeah, like I said, I don't necessarily think the hybrid tracks lead to the best racing, but I was listening to a lot of the post-race podcasts and whatnot, and it seemed like a lot of the riders, whether they thought it was the best racetrack or not, maybe that's debatable, but they all seemed to really enjoy just, riding the track. They said it was a really fun track, and they applauded the crew, so that's cool. The riders, they're the show, so if they enjoy the track, that's always a positive. You even had the brief section where they went out of the stadium. I think they had bigger plans for it at first. They were going to go and do a few different things in that convention center, but it ended up just going out, ripping some sand, a U-turn, and then heading back in. So it wasn't anything crazy, but it was still a cool dynamic. And yeah, my overall opinion is just listen to those post-race podcasts that the riders have positive things to say about the track, and it's really good to hear that, because this whole SMX deal with the hybrid tracks, some Supercross, some motocross, and a little bit in between, I've kind of been wondering how long that was going to be able to stick around without any of the teams or riders kind of saying something about it, or voicing some negativity, because it is pretty much next to impossible to set a bike up for both. And while I was in Charlotte, I saw a lot of close calls from the best in the world, so if it's tough for them, then it's beyond difficult. So I'm glad to hear that there was a step in the right direction, it seemed, and yeah, the guys seem to like the track. But either way, I didn't have to ride it, so my opinions aren't too strong on it in general, but I am really glad that it was an exciting night of racing. And as far as that goes, let's go ahead and get into the results, shall we? With the win, a 2-2 for the overall, and I guess the dude was sick too. Maybe he had some bad sushi, but Joe Shimoda went full wasabi mode. Actually, not full wasabi mode, because he went 2-2, but yeah, he wasabied enough to get the overall, and now he's in control of the championship after what we'll get into here shortly with Degan and Kitchen. But yeah, now he's up 10 in the championship, and going into the last race, it's triple points. So typically the gap between first and second in points is 3 points, so multiply that by 3, that's 9 points between first and second, and he has a 10-point buffer. So as of now, if he goes to Vegas and just gets second behind Deegan, he could still be your champ. I think it'd be an upset champ too, but I kind of have a feeling Degan ain't just going to roll over and just let Sushi get second. I think we might see some fireworks, and I will be in attendance for that one, so I'm excited for that. But a very awesome effort for Sushi, despite being what seemed to be very under the weather. The dude was not looking too hot when he came off the track, but yeah, he made it happen. He pushed through. He showed a lot of grit, just like he did earlier in the year when he still raced through his hand getting smacked by a pit board. And Coming into this year, that was kind of something I thought Joe might have been missing a little bit, but yeah, not that he cares what I think, but he's proven me wrong. Great job, Joe Shimoda, but a 2-2 for Shimoda and then a 3-3 for Hammaker. He picks up a second overall and an awesome start to the series as well. No penalty, nothing like that. Just a very consistent start to the series. He's been up front every time the gates dropped. He did have that brutal McAdoo-style front flip in Charlotte, and the dude's already beat up, so I think he's kind of racing a little bit at the mangled national, but Seth's got a lot of heart. He's a warrior, and yeah, when the gate drops, the dude probably doesn't even remember he's hurt, but yeah, I believe he's third in points now behind Shimoda and Deegan, and yeah, if anything too crazy goes on between those guys in Vegas, like I said, triple points, so if Hammaker wins and Deegan and Shimoda are third, fourth, fifth, something like that, I don't know. I don't have the math in front of me because I'm currently going 78 miles an hour down the highway, but Seth is definitely not out of this thing, not by any stretch of the imagination. And then in the third spot, rounding out the podium, I'm kind of finding some irony in this because we all know that Nate Thrasher is sick at the speedways. Back when they raced at Atlanta Speedway, he was always good there. You know, it's kind of become his reputation. And then SMX, you know, there were some theories that he could be pretty good considering we're racing 2 out of the 3 tracks are at speedways, and the dude goes out and gets a podium at the one that's not a speedway. I mean, just so Nate Thrasher of him. The enigma continues. The dude could literally go get 15th and then just win, and it's like not that surprising. It's just kind of what we've come to find with Nate Thrasher. I think it was a 6-4 for a third overall or something like that. So consistency was key. Great job, Nate Thrasher, and yeah, we saw a sign of life again. And I just checked, it was a 6-4 for third overall, and he actually tied with Ty Masterpool, a 4-6 for fourth overall. And dude, that one's kind of ironic too. I mean, this was the most Supercross one that we've had maybe yet since the inception of the series. Yeah, the Stutter National, but yeah, like the most technical Supercross style one. And Ty Masterpool goes out and almost puts it on the podium. As you guys know, a lot of chaos in the pro circuit camp last night. After what went down with Kitchen. I say that, I wasn't even there, but I can only assume there was a lot of chatter and whatnot, but it was pretty funny in the group chat for Main Event Moto after the race. You know, everybody's talking about what happened, and Ty's mechanic texts us. He's just like, hey, does anybody know what place Ty got? I just thought it was funny, like, you know, everything that was going on, and the dude had to ask us what place Ty got. But great ride from Masterpool, and then rounding out the top 5, right before we get to all the controversy, is Tom Vial. I don't even remember what he got in the first moto, but an awesome job in the second moto. I believe it was a wire-to-wire win. The shock must not have faded. Setup was good. He stayed in it, and yeah, the beginning of SMX for him, I feel like hasn't really been what we've quite expected. You know, he is a European coming over to a new series, but it's new for everyone. And riding these kinds of tracks shouldn't really be a new thing for Tom, because in the GPs, sometimes they just go and build a pop-up track in a field. And yeah, I feel like SMX sometimes mildly resembles that, but a slow start to the series. Now he's got a moto win. Not sure where he's in points, maybe 4th, something like that, but he's probably just barely out of this championship picture. But I say that last year, Pierce Brown just out of nowhere showed up and won the finale. I think it went from like 11th or something in points to 3rd. So you never know what can happen. But Frenchie LePew, great ride in the second moto. First moto might be one to forget. And then all the way down to the 6th spot, here we go. Hayden Deegan, a 1:14 for 6th overall. And yeah, that was not what I was expecting to see at all. I was actually watching the race with the boys at Verb Moto, and yeah, we were talking about something different, and then just out of nowhere, Kitchen comes and cleans Deegan's clock. And I saw somewhere that James Stewart had asked Levi if something had happened earlier in the moto to provoke him or lead to that, and I think Levi had said yes. What that might have been, I'm not sure yet. I haven't had the chance to go back and watch or anything like that. Just watched the race live last night, that's it. But yeah, that was absolutely crazy. I guess it blew the front brake off, so he got up. Then he had another crash in the rhythm section, so he was way last. I kind of thought the bike might have even been more bent up, but I guess that other crash was what held him up. But the dude, as always, he charged forward. He didn't give up. He kind of doesn't have a choice. There's a lot of money on the line. Prestige. The dude hates to lose, obviously. And yeah, he could only make it back up to 14th. And yeah, now he's got a little bit. He's going to need a little bit of help, or he's going to need to do something a little bit extra at the finale to get this thing done, because yeah, like I said, Shimoda's got 10 points. The difference between first and second is going to be 9, so he's either going to need some help or he's either going to need to, you know, help himself, which I won't be surprised to see. And guys, is that like the first time that Deegan's like really been cleaned out? Because it seems like, you know, maybe it's just me, but I can't seem to remember another time where somebody actually landed one on him. But yeah, only a 6th overall for Deegan, a huge hit in the points, and I kind of think that was about the only thing that could stop him, because even in the first moto, after the crash, he's clearly the best guy, clearly the fastest guy. Man, the sun is really helping us out. But he's done it before. He's won the championship twice already, going for the 3-peat. And yeah, it's going to be a lot tougher now. And then we'll go down to the 10th spot. We'll talk about the guy who is now Hayden Deegan's new arch enemy. He either definitely made a ton of fans and a ton of haters all in one move last night. If you look at the comment sections, it could not be any more polarizing. You know, people either loved that move or hated it. Even in my own group chats with all my friends, it was pretty split, the opinions on what everybody thought, and all it came down to is whether you like Deegan or not. And you know, Deegan, he's polarizing, sometimes almost to a fault, but you know, it's by design. It's what he wants to do. It keeps the people talking. But I don't know, maybe Levi got tired of hearing all the chatter. Deegan has thrown out several digs to Levi, whether it be in press conferences, interviews, you name it. I've heard it a bunch of times. They kind of act like it's, you know, them being buddies and this and that, but I feel like it's pretty obvious there's a little bit of tension there, especially they're both going to try to be one of the top guys in the class, and one of them succeeding, the other one is not. So maybe Levi just finally got tired of it. You know, maybe Hayden chirped at him in staging earlier that day or on the line. Like I said, maybe there was a move earlier in the race that I haven't seen yet, but yeah, that was wild. That was pretty out of pocket. The only bummer for Levi, man, if you're going to go for that move, I feel like we gotta stay up, because, you know, that crashing yourself, it kind of just makes it look like a kamikaze move. And, you know, he had only gotten 5th in the first moto and a podium in Charlotte, so it's not like he was out of it by any means. But, yeah, it seemed like he kind of just sacrificed himself to take Deegs down. And I'll be honest, it's kind of something I'm surprised I haven't seen until now, because, you know, the amount of enemies and how polarizing he is and how much crap he talks, this and that. I mean, it's entertaining for us, don't get me wrong, but if you were some of his competition, somebody who's trying to beat him and somebody who's getting beat by him every weekend, you know, that already pisses you off. So to hear him chirping and talking the crap, I feel like that's all the fuel that fire needs for you to go out and try to want to do something about it. So that's my hypothesis. I feel like Kitchen might have just been tired of all the chatter, or maybe there was something in the first few corners that I just didn't see. But either way, that made the series way more entertaining. I mean, had Deegan gone 1-1 last night, he'd have a big points lead. We'd be going into Vegas, and he would only need to get, you know, maybe 3rd or 4th. Joe could win or do whatever. So as far as the series entertainment goes, Levi just did us all a favor. He did himself half a favor, because half the crowd loves him and now half hate him. But yeah, I don't know if we'll see any reigniting of that rivalry in Vegas, because Deegan's going to have to kind of stay focused on a championship, because he's going to need some help. He's going to need to really pull something off to get this thing done. So I don't know if we'll see it rekindle next weekend quite that early, but yeah, stay tuned for this in the future, because this is a rivalry that I don't think will be done. You know, it might take a few-year break, because Deegan's going to move up to the 450 class early, but yeah, heard it in the movie Superbad. People never forget. And what's everybody's opinion on the penalty? I mean, it wasn't really much of a penalty. I think it was just a written warning, because Levi has never been in trouble for this before. But I always kind of get bummed out whenever, you know, they fine you or warn you or do whatever for a takeout. I feel like, you know, it's not something that you should try to go do at every corner. It's not something you want to see, you know, 100 times a race. But I feel like every once in a while, Supercross can be a contact sport. It's just part of it. Maybe part of the warning was the fact that he took himself out. I have no idea whether that had any bearing on anything or not. You know, maybe if he just does a clean takeout, takes down the front wheel and rides away from it, maybe doesn't quite look as bad, and maybe it doesn't warrant a warning or anything like that. So I really don't know. Maybe I can get some insight this week and try to figure out if that would have changed anything on the penalty from the AMA side. But either way, you know, the word penalty, it almost doesn't even fit here, because all he got was a written warning. But yeah, that's strike one. Now, if Levi does it again, I think there may be more issues, maybe a fine or a docking, something like that. And then one thing to look out for is these guys really don't like the whole retaliation thing, which I feel like Retaliation's kind of in the contract in life, especially in a sport like this with all this piss, vinegar, and blood and all that, all this effort and money. So if Deegan does do anything to try to get back at Kitchen, then I would definitely watch the whole penalty space on that one, because they've shown in years past that they don't really accept Retaliation. So stay tuned to all that. I don't know if we'll see it super soon, but even if this thing resurfaces in a couple of years, you never know what might come of it. And then last thought on the 250 class before we move over to the 450s, a massive bummer and a get well soon to my guy Austin Forkner. I've been singing his praises all year about how he's been healthy, made every race, he stayed in it. He's been, it's kind of cliche, but he really has been trusting the process. But yeah, in St. Louis, in that hallway section, washed the front on the way into a corner. Massive ACL knee dab. He posted that it was just a meniscus, but now some other members of the media are saying that it's not good. So usually when a knee injury is, quote, not good, it's usually an ACL or something like that, and it's so not good because it takes so long to heal. So I'll be really hoping and praying for Austin that it's nothing too bad, because he's an awesome dude. He's been through the ringer, and man, he was so close to putting a bow on this season and finishing it off. So to make it this far and get hurt in the playoffs is a huge bummer. And it's not just Austin. You know, there's a few people who grinded it out through the whole season and make it to the playoffs just to hurt themselves. Another one that comes to mind is Malcolm Stewart. He rode, I think, Friday practice, but couldn't quite cut it on Saturday, couldn't cut the mustard, so he ended up on the sidelines. So it's a bummer, but it's our sport. It's gnarly. Season's long, and you know, everybody's just trying to grind it out and make it to the end, so they're chasing that carrot, trying to get that payday. So to do all the work, all the grinding, and make it there just to get hurt, I feel for those guys. Prayers up, and hope you guys all recover quick. All right, I can barely find an angle that's not sun rays just blowing out the shot, but that might actually be better than looking at my face. You guys tell me. But yeah, now we'll move on to the 450 class with the win. Second year in a row this guy takes the second round of the season in SMX. Hunter Lawrence finally gets out of Jett's shadow again, gets an overall win, and he did get himself into the record books at Ironman earlier this year. But yeah, this one was as straight up as they come. I mean, that first moto, got out front, had kickstart right behind him, and Kenny's early moto speed is not really to be messed with. I mean, that dude's got some serious intensity, some fast twitch nationals, but Hunter just checked out, dude. Smooth, calculated ride, had no challenge, no worries, and a solid win in the first moto. Even in the second moto, you know, he was really putting the heat on Tomac, giving him some pressure, and he didn't need to. You know, I don't know if he knew it or not. You know, most of these guys, all of us, you know, we were homeschooled at some point, so 1 + 3 could be some tricky math, but whether he knew it or not, he was still putting heat on Eli, charged all the way to the end, and yeah, it was crazy. Even those two caught Jett a little bit at the end of that second moto. I think we all know he was probably in mutant management mode, but yeah, I feel like that second 450 moto, despite being a snoozer, the way it closed in those last couple of laps, it kind of gave us the illusion that it was an exciting race, when really it was kind of just an exciting last lap and a half or so. But yeah, awesome job for Hunta. Not sure where he's at in the points. Like I said, don't have him in front of me. I just know Jett's out front. But yeah, then speaking of Jett, second overall with a 4-1. And that ride in the first moto, that was what legends are made of. Holy crap. The dude comes from like 38th to 4th in like 20 minutes on a track where everybody says you can't pass. Literally nobody else moved through the field even a quarter like Jett did. Even Chase, I think he started 8th or 9th, and he was only up to 5th or so by the time Jett got to him. And the dude's just a freak. I mean, you guys can tell me I'm glazing him, whatever you want to say. I really don't care. I know what I'm seeing, and I've never seen anybody ride a dirt bike near as good as this guy. He just picks the best in the world off like they're nothing. Kind of makes him look silly. And yeah, I mean, there's so many complaints about how the tracks, how you can't pass and this and that. And yeah, he kind of erased all those, at least for the time being. But only able to get back to 4th in the first moto. A great salvage ride, despite having like a last place start. Then the second moto, Jett did what Jett does, just got out front, managed it, got his little gap that he's comfy with. You know, I think he only cares if he has like 2 or 3 bike links, and he can just ride like that for about a year and a half. But yeah, 4-1 for second overall, maintains the points lead, and this is pretty crazy. I meant to throw this stat in whenever I was talking about Hunta, but Honda has actually won every single 450 main, or excuse me, 450 overall in Super Motocross since it started. In 2023, Sexton won 1, and then Jett won the other 2. Then Jett and Hunta won everything last year, and then same with this year. So pretty crazy, the Honda domination we're seeing. But yeah, not much more you can say about the Lawrence brothers. it really is kind of their world and everybody else is trying to live in it. But then in the third spot, we had ET3. Cool to see Tomac get it on the box. A good ride for him, both motos. He was right there, just couldn't quite pull the trigger and make a move in either moto, especially first moto. He was all over Roxson. Thought he was going to get that last lap pass, and if he had, that would have definitely changed the dynamic of the second moto a lot, because Hunta, I think he probably knew he didn't have to pass Eli, but had Eli gotten around Kenny, that would have changed everything. But a solid third in the moto. I'm sure he was running the scoop tire, so good in the sand, not as good whenever the potting soil got down to that hard base, but he's still keeping himself relatively in that championship fight. I do think Jett has this one running away, but Eli's at least keeping himself right there. If anything really bad goes wrong in that triple points national in the third one. Then in fourth, we had Kickstart Kenny. I had somebody in the Charlotte video, I was calling that bike a dinosaur because it's a Suzuki. I always joke about him, and they thought I was calling Kenny a dinosaur. He was telling me how much better of a rider he is than me. Yeah, you guys don't say, huh? Kenny's a better rider than me. But yeah, awesome job for Kenny. That second in the first moto was sick. I think he was only able to muster a fifth in the second moto, which still a good ride, but for Ken Roxson, I'm sure he might have wanted more. I listened to him in the interview, though. He said he charged the whole time, so he was happy with that. No big issues. They've been working a lot on the bike. I think there's some more involvement with Japan coming into the contract, so good for Ken Roxson, just staying right there in the fight. And then rounding out the top five, Cooper Webb with an 8.4. Not a great first moto, and I really, even before the season started, I was kind of thinking that SMX wasn't really going to be his thing. You know, he's a lot better when it's really technical, track breaks down like crazy, and he can carve really tight corners and use his racecraft and stuff, where the hybrid tracks, I just don't really think they quite as much lend themselves to coupe style. But the fourth in the second moto is awesome, and I think he's just trying to get through this one, get some solid results, and he'll be back in January. He'll see you guys at Anaheim 1, and with the number 1 plate, of course. But then right behind Coop, a 6th overall, and another shout out. I do it every week because he deserves them. But Rick James, RJ Hampshire. This dude is just a 450 unit. I don't understand it. I never will understand it, but it's happening right before our very eyes every single weekend. The dude is just smoothed out. Consistency is all of a sudden like come into his vocabulary, and I can't say enough about how impressed I am with RJ. Even you know, coming into super motocross, a bit of a new discipline, despite riding outdoors all season on the 450. You know, it's a little bit different when you get into the tighter confines of a stadium, but the dude's delivered every single time. And yeah, RJ Hampshire, stud of the second half of the year in this 450 class, straight up. And then as we're about to finish up here, back to the 7th spot, we had Chase Sexton. Man, that was a bummer night for him for sure. Being a Midwest race and all, I thought it was going to be a good one for him. He's always good at that kind of soil. It's a bit of a home race for him, so I thought maybe the home race vibes would do something for him. But that first moto, bad start, just never quite got going. And then when Jett got him from all the way last, that had to have taken some wind out of the sails. And then second moto, kind of same thing. Those guys dropped him a little bit early, and then I thought he was just going to ride it in for a 4th or so, but then there was a last lap issue. Not sure if anybody still knows what it was or not. Maybe, I'm sure a crash of some sort, but he ended up only coming across the line in 10th, so a 5.10 for 7th overall. Championship is pretty much effectively gone, which is a bummer because I had Chase picked to be, you know, the best chance anybody had to take it to Jett down at the finale, and I should have known better because it was the same last year. It was Hunter, and it looks like it's Hunter again. But yeah, bummer night for Chase. Championship's kind of gone, and he posted on Instagram. He's super disappointed, says sorry to the fans, but he says it's not for lack of effort, and I do agree with that. He's definitely not like the guy whose bike he's about to take. Chase is always trying. He'll send it till he crashes, just like he did at Ironman, and I agree. It's definitely never for a lack of effort. Chase always gives you 100%. It might not always work out, but yeah, he's got one more race on an orange bike. Then he's got a pretty fun extracurricular activity that none of you know about that is going to be really cool after SMX, and then yeah, on to Kawasaki's. And then last guy I'll touch on in this 450 class, 8th overall, the number 1 seed, Justin Cooper. It's been a bit of a bummer of an SMX season for him compared to what you would think he might get with coming in with the number 1 seed. It all started with that first turn crash in Charlotte, got caught up in the tough blocks. He kind of got boned. But then yesterday, not really too many great moments or any flash. He was just kind of one of the guys, and he only ended up 8th overall. So being that race was a double points one, and 8th overall, you know, you definitely take a hit from being at the top of the standings a round ago. You know, he's definitely dropped down a ways. I said it before, I'll say it again. I don't have it in front of me. I'll do a little bit of a better update on the points and all that in my pre-race for next week when I'm not driving down the highway. But yeah, as far as St. Louis SMX goes, round 2 of the playoffs, that's all I got for you guys. As always, let me know what y'all think in the comments, if you agree, disagree, if I should just keep my eyes on the road and not even do this review, or if I'm just a cooked unit. All of the above. You know we're here for all of it. And yeah, thank you guys again for watching. Appreciate y'all, and we'll catch you next time.